this community can create a new physical reality. We can tip the scales. It does not take a large group. In fact, I came across an interesting article, thanks to Miss Fran, right there, Fran Morgan, and it was this large study. This woman did this large study of all these hundreds of campaigns over the last century that created change. And what this woman who studied about it from Harvard found out is that nonviolent protests are twice as likely to succeed as armed conflicts. And those engaging a threshold of 3.5% of the population have never failed to bring about change. Woo! Do you know what I figured out? I just picked Addison. Do you know if something went down in Addison and this community decided to stand for something and have a nonviolent movement of this power and presence, it's only about 500 people, that's 3.5%. We can do this, folks. Yes, it's the essence. It's the essence of life. It's the essence of you. It's this knowing this and understanding and moving from that actually is one of the ways in which we tip the scales. And we're all about tipping the scales this year. Yeah, thank you for those 2 amens. Where 2 or more are gathered, we're good. Yes. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I am feeling it. It's like this, right now, is the time to truly tip the scales on so many things. And the way that we do this is to really get that life is this great impulse. It's this great impulse, and that impulse and what we teach and what we practice and what we're all about, there are many things we're about, but today I'm talking about that consciousness changes the physical reality. That's the great impulse, that consciousness changes the physical reality of life on the physical plane. And that we've seen throughout millennials that small groups of people can change things. Yes? We've seen that one person can change. Small groups can change. Large groups can change. And to really get this great impulse is this the greatest power that there is, consciousness, and that this power, this greatest power, resides and lives and moves within each and every one of us. No one's left out of this. It is within that greatest power. And so as we teach and practice that as a community, that consciousness creates physical reality, we expand on that. Now, we're not the first one to teach it. We're not the first one to practice it. This has been talked about for thousands and thousands of years. Ancient wisdom, timeless teachings has been teaching us this. And I believe it's time for us, humanity, there's unity in the word humanity, to really consciously awaken to what consciousness is and how consciousness works. And when we do this on an individual level, that the greatest power is within and it changes things, and when we do this on a collective level, it truly changes. And it's how we be, think, and move as consciousness. How we think, be, and move. That changes things. Some of you have heard this before. It's been several years since I've shared this. But there was a time in my life where I got a clear understanding about this, that this power is within, and as I be that power, that everything around me changes. And it informed everything else in my life since then. And it was a big mystical experience for me, and it seemed like an ordinary day. Well, it was a pretty special day. It was October 17th of 2013. I had just become a licensed minister in August. So a couple of months prior, I was starting a community in San Francisco in the Mission District, and I'd gone to a Baha'i community to talk to the board to see if I could rent space there and start a CSL community there. They happened to say yes, first time they ever said yes to someone of another faith, and I was so excited that they said yes when we worked out the details, and I was on board to sign the lease agreement. And I was riding, we call it in the Bay Area, BART. It's DART here, but you get the sense, right? I was on a BART, something that I didn't ride as much as a lot of Bay Area people. So I wasn't really accustomed to it, but I was comfortable in riding home. I was listening to some music on my earbuds, and my then partner was calling to say how'd it go, and I was sharing with her that it went exceptionally well, and I was sharing all the details, and I was really excited, and we were having a conversation, and I'm getting out of the BART train, and I'm walking through the station, and before the turnstiles to leave, right in the midst of that walk, something within inside of me said, stop. And I did. I didn't know what it was wanting, what it was. I just know that there was an impulse, a great impulse within me that said, stop. And I said to my partner, I said, hang on a second. And all I did was just stand. Now, people are going left and right and through me and around me and all that, and I just wanted to go within and be with this great impulse. About 30 seconds after doing that, and doing my best not to feel like I was standing as a fool, like, what am I doing here? But being with that, there was an altercation that began to the left of me, a little bit out of sight, but I could hear it. So there was an argument starting to brew.
So do you know you're part of our online community? Every time you watch us, you belong to CSL Dallas, and we're so happy that you're part of our community. And we love providing you this kind of spiritual message. So if you want to keep seeing this, please donate. You can donate at csldallas.org/give, or you can text 972-954-4404. Be part of our community and sit back and enjoy the message.
And as it started to brew rather quickly and rather largely. My partner could hear this now, and she said, what are you doing? I said, please, just give me a minute. I need to be here now. I need to focus my attention on this. And she started getting really anxious, understandably, like, Karen, don't be a hero. What is going on? Because she could hear the yelling and the screaming. And I said, I need to be here now. And I was feeling this conflict. Have you ever felt a conflict inside, like I'm to do this, but this, and something outside of me, in my ears, quite frankly, saying, don't be a hero. And all of a sudden, the phone disconnected. I actually thought she hung up on me. And the phone disconnected, and because of that, I could give my full attention to this matter, whatever it was. And I was being that presence of the power. That's all. The only way that I could describe it is within me, I was standing as the power of love as much as I could. Like the stand for love. Not the ooey gooey love. You got it? This universal love. I happened to glance just quickly, and it was two white women arguing with an employee of of Bart, black woman, and something they were very upset about. And I just stood there and stood there. I didn't look. I didn't get engaged in it. I didn't focus on it. I didn't go, oh my God, look at that. Oh, that's awful. I didn't go, oh, somebody better do something. This is going down, or let me get between them. Nothing. I just, inside of me, was standing and being that power as best I could. What I sort of kind of gathered in this was one of the women fell away, so then it was like one-on-one. And the woman got the BART employee into one of those little ticket booths. They have their little square box, and got her in there. And boy, did it go down even more. This woman was screaming at her. The human brain of Karen was going, surely the security guards are going to come soon before someone gets killed. But I focused on being that great impulse. Now, all of this felt like it went over an eternity of time. It probably only took place within a matter of 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. I really don't know. And it got really bad. And as it got to the height of what I thought, was not going to end well. Just like that, I heard, well, that's the nicest thing anybody ever said to me. That was the BART employee. These two women started giggling and laughing like they were best friends. I could then hear it. It was just as loud. Laughter was going on. And they walked out of there like they were the best of pals. And I'm still standing here, being that power. And the woman, peeled away. Now, mind you, the employee wasn't tending to what she normally tends to, so I did happen to look in front of me as I was sort of coming back into, felt like my body. There was a line of people, behind a little handicap sign that had been lining up dramatically, and they were getting a little anxious. And so I felt the BART employee. I felt her. She was behind me. I felt her. And so I just turned around so I could face her. And she looked right at me and she says, "Can I help you, ma'am?" And I said, "No, I just came here to be love." And she looked right at me and said, "Thank you." I walked on. What I can tell you is when I got home and I got what that was about, and that's who I came here to be, is to be that power of love, to be that presence, to be that great impulse that is within me. My whole life from that moment changed. I'm not kidding, literally. And so the thing that I got from that, and especially now what's happening, is there weren't existing circumstances already taking place when that impulse within me said, stop. Okay, there was nothing going on at that moment. What happened? It happened afterwards. I think that was a little easier for me because when violence or anger or hatred starts to unfold, I do tend to focus on it. I can get grabbed by it. I can get in with it sometimes, and I can match it and go, "Oh, this pisses me off." Yes? Y'all don't do that, I know. But I didn't focus on what was happening. And so I think had I focused on it, it would have thrown the whole outcome of what happened, and especially the outcome of that mystical experience and the outcome that it had on me personally. So there are a lot of existing circumstances going on right now. Yes? Okay? We got some climate change. This is not an exhaustive list. I'm just going to name a few. There's, injustices and racial and religious discrimination. There's police brutality. There's women's rights being taken away. There's all kinds of polarization and hatred and division going on, not just in our country, but all over the world. There's poverty. There's homelessness. There's new viruses. There's just all kinds of stuff rattling. Earthquakes rattling, right? There's just all kinds of situations and circumstances. And for me and for us, the question I want to bring is, what energy are we bringing to these circumstances and conditions? What energy are we bringing to it as we are hearing about it, seeing it? Are we standing against things? That's one of the things that I love about the science of mind, is we make a point to say we stand for things. We don't stand against things. We stand for things. Because Ernest Holmes talked about that. Show me one person that stands for something and against nothing, and I will show you another Messiah. So how is our faith and understanding in science of mind coming into play, and how can we as a community tip the scales? There's something in this book that really speaks to this. And I want to share with you a few passages in here. He talks about a practitioner. Ernest Holmes says practitioner. He uses a small p. You got to watch him. He capitalizes and doesn't capitalize things for a reason as you start to read the science of mind in the various books and textbooks. And so in this case, he says little p practitioner, which means all of us. Anyone that practices this is a practitioner. Right? You are all practitioners. And if you're a licensed practitioner, then it might be a capital P, right? But we're all practitioners. The practitioner withdraws from the contemplation of existing circumstances, and without contending against them, actually creates a new set of circumstances through consciously reversing the law that produced the condition which ought to be changed. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there. So we're withdrawing our contemplation of these existing circumstances, and especially without being against them, contending against them, right? And by doing so, we're actually creating something new and reversing that which created it in the first place. If his or her mind dwelt only on things as they appear to be, he or she would never demonstrate beyond the appearance, and everything that happened would merely be more of the same thing. So, we can't dwell on this stuff, or it's just going to keep being stuff. You with me? This is significantly important to me and how I'm now having to retrain how I focus and think about these things. And thank goodness Petra helps me all the time. She works overtime with me. I just want y'all to know. y'all don't see the conversations that we have along the way. She does. She should get a raise. She works overtime with me. But here she steps our consciousness up. And this is what we've got to do. We got to step our consciousness up and see through and beyond the fact to a new cause. We must step our consciousness up and see through and beyond the fact to the new cause. He sometimes denies the fact merely to brush it out of his thought. That's important. We're not saying it's not existing, but we're denying it to brush it out of our own thought. Hatred. Brush it out, right? While he affirms the opposite. Love. I've got to brush it out. Doesn't mean that I don't see injustices, but I got to brush it out. He continues. And by the way, this, when you want to go find it, is in the chapter called Function of Faith. So I won't get all the emails, just so you know. Where'd you find that? We are, in our outside world, a result of the subjective state of our own thought. The acquired, subjective, and perhaps largely unconscious thought patterns which we entertain are continually impinging upon our environment, attracting and repelling without our conscious awareness. The subconscious content of one's thoughts determines what is going to happen to him or her. This is on the collective, too. We're seeing it. We're feeling it, right? He goes on. Right practice includes correct teaching because we not only wish to help people, science of mind, we should have an equal desire to teach them how to help themselves. Do you know that's our number one goal? We want to teach you how to do this on your own. People should be shown how to unite faith with understanding so that they will not only know what they are doing, but how and why they are doing it. Their faith is in God, the living Spirit. It is both right and necessary that they have this faith. Their knowledge, however, is of a definite law of cause and effect in the mental world, the law of mind in action. Science of mind, the law of mind. We are the law of mind in action. Jesus made repeated references to the action of this law. He said, "Thy faith hath made thee whole." Do you believe this can be done? If you do, it can. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass until all be fulfilled. The words are still here. These are the words until it be fulfilled. They won't pass away. In the parable of the sower, he referred to the word as a seed. Undoubtedly, he understood the action of this law, but knowing that it responds by corresponding, he told his followers to stay close to the Spirit. Then there could be nothing in the automatic reaction of the law to produce harm. I like this, what he says. I want to get to the end of this paragraph. Jesus laid down the whole law as one of belief. He made it so simple that its meaning has eluded us. We have wondered by what special act of grace or divine providence he was able to heal the sick, turn water into wine, or multiply loaves and fishes. Jesus did not reverse the laws of nature. He reversed the common use of them. He was not merely a man who had great faith. He used his faith in a positive rather than a negative way. His faith in good was equal to the average person's faith in evil. It was not a different faith. It was a different use of faith. We are here to make a different use of faith. The lights just dimmed. Or was it just me? Or is it just me? Just checking. Okay. Is it just me? Wow. Y'all have no idea how much they just dimmed. So, that faith, that word that's still living until is saying, I don't know. I'm not going to make anything up at this point, but that was pretty wild. So it's how we use the teachings of the science of mind that counts. And it's not so much our understanding, it's how we use this faith that's so significantly important at such a time as this. And so we as a community collective, how we be and think and move in this consciousness, this community can create a new physical reality. We can tip the scales. It does not take a large group. In fact, I came across an interesting article thanks to Miss Fran, right there, Fran Morgan, and it was this large study. This woman did this large study of all these hundreds of campaigns over the last century that created change. And what this woman who studied about it from Harvard found out is that nonviolent protests are twice as likely to succeed as armed conflicts. And those engaging a threshold of 3.5% of the population have never failed to bring about change. Woo! Do you know what I figured out? I just picked Addison. Do you know if something went down in Addison and this community decided to stand for something and have a nonviolent movement of this power presence, it's only about 500 people, that's 3.5%. We can do this, folks. Yes. Yes. So I want to give you one more, just another way of looking at it. Thanks to Petra, she said, you ought to use this in your talk on Sunday. I give credit where credit is due. And I'm like, wow, this is a powerful video. I want you to see the video. And I do think that the lights will dim for real on this one. But I want you to soak this up. And we'll share it on social media so that everyone can share it too and tag, CSLDallas. So let's watch this and take this in.
We've been lied to. We've been told that the only way the world will change is if we fight. Fight against poverty, fight against environmental destruction, fight against animal cruelty, fight against corrupt politicians, fight against injustice and hatred. But what if they had it all wrong? What if our very fighting is helping to perpetuate these problems? How could that possibly be, you ask? Well, quantum physics is now proving what the ancient mystical traditions have always said. We do not live in a physical universe. But don't take my word for it. Albert Einstein himself said, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. What he meant is that the physical world is an illusion. It has been calculated that if you took all 7.7 billion people on Earth and removed all the empty space in between their atoms, the entire human race would fit into a single cube of sugar. Let that sink in. So much for a solid world. The hidden truth of reality is that this is a universe built on pure energy, pure consciousness. It only appears and feels solid because that's how our brains are programmed to perceive and sense it. Yet this consciousness has no physical boundaries. It is intimately interconnected everywhere. Which means that when you fight against any problem or injustice in the world with anger and resistance in your heart, your consciousness is literally seeding the energy field of humanity with this negative contracted energy. So while you may seem to be helping on the physical front and what you're fighting for may improve, there will be no ultimate resolution because the energetic seed you planted will be alive. And it will unite with energy of its kind from around the world and necessitate the manifestation of new problems. Because that's how reality actually works. Consciousness literally creates physical reality. Your state of consciousness, along with everyone else's on the planet, is what is creating our planet's future moment by moment. But the vast majority of people have been miseducated and misinformed. They're fighting for a better world on the physical front, but their underlying consciousness is serving as the blueprint for more injustice and more problems to be born into the world. And it's a vicious cycle that won't end until we wake up to the truth. The truth is that no amount of fighting and protesting and campaigning will create real lasting change as long as there's anger and hatred and resistance in our hearts. We've been down this futile path for endless centuries. One problem solved and a new one springs in its place, necessitated by the negative energy that solved the first one. When will we realize that there has to be a better way? Well, that better way was actually proven to us 4 decades ago, but no one took notice. In 1978, a scientifically controlled study was conducted on a group of 7,000 meditators who meditated for 3 weeks in a state of love and peace. What happened next was absolutely stunning. It was discovered that during this period, global crime rates dropped by 16%. Global suicides and car accidents also dropped. Most astonishing of all, there was a 72% decrease in global terrorist activity. Stop and think about that for a moment. The entire world literally changed because of a group of a mere 7,000 meditators who stayed in coherence in a higher state of consciousness, a state of love and peace. And this shocking result occurred precisely because we don't live in a physical universe. These powerful waves of love and peace were felt subconsciously by the entire collective consciousness of humanity and affected mass behavior without people even realizing it. And so it's time for us to wake up to these hidden truths about our reality. It's time for us to drop the old paradigm that tells us the world will change by fighting for change. And it's time to embrace the new paradigm that empowers each and every single one of us to change the world in a real and lasting way. Through the incredible power of our consciousness, there are no limits to your power when you align to a more truthful view of the world you live in. The love that you feel in your heart is an actual power that you have. It's literally the most powerful force on earth. This is not a cliche. You've just been conditioned to believe that it has no real effect. But we've seen that its power is absolutely world-changing. And one person, you, has unlimited amounts of it to plant as seeds in the collective consciousness. So start this very moment. Close your eyes, open your heart, and send love to the world. Feel the peace and let your consciousness abide there. Every single second that you do this literally rewrites our planet's future with a new energetic blueprint. And then if you're meant to take some physical action to help the world, it'll be spontaneously inspired by love and it will be infinitely more powerful than that which is fueled by righteous anger. Love can lead to courageous, assertive action. It does not mean being passive. And even without physical action, you're helping to change the world on a foundational, energetic level that actually creates reality. You are the superhero and savior you've been waiting for.
Yes. Yes. So we are the ones we've been waiting for. When we see, when we read, when we hear about what's going on, then I, from this point on, are going to do my best to not get hooked into that and to not meet that with that same energetic, right? That energetic of, ugh, ain't it awful, or, oh my gosh, you know. I'm going to do my best to just drop in, just like I did at that BART station, and just stand or sit or lay or wherever you are and move into that place of love. I'm talking the greatest universal love there is, because it is in us to the greatest extent. It's us. And that peace. And when we do this, and when we do this year, we are shifting. We are changing reality. And no one may ever know it, but more and more people are coming here. More and more people are watching these messages online. More people are taking classes online. This small group of people, this community known as CSLDallas, I'm telling you, we tip the scales. I see someone in the back doing that. We tip the scales. And let's use each other to, like, she works overtime. Use each other to say, now, I see it on social media. I see some of the posts. They get pretty angry from folks in our community. We're meeting that energy. We're contributing to it. It's just the way it works. We've got to meet it with love, with peace, with compassion, with understanding, no matter who it is and what they're doing. The language and perspective of science of mind comes from a different perspective. It stands for, it's that positive stand. We can stand for things and not against them, and especially in our own mind. So if something's going on right now, like the state of the planet, we've got to stand for the health of this planet. We've got to stand for the peace of this planet. We've got to stand for that there's brilliance going on everywhere that's bringing new things forward that's going to enable humanity to work. I just saw something yesterday. They are now, some company has figured out how to make protein out of air, water, and renewable energy. Those 3 ingredients blew my mind, and it's tasteless and it can be put in anything. The agricultural age as we know it may soon be over. That's not a bad thing. And we look for those things. Focus. We've got to focus on what we want. So if something's over here that we don't want, let's turn our focus to what we do want. Let's go seek out those things that are going. Talk to Georgianne. She's been talking. Georgianne, raise your hand. She's on our core council. She's been talking and going to all these things in Washington with all the scientists, and they're figuring it out. They're also a little scared, but they're figuring it out, right? So we can do this. And through nonviolence in our action, and especially in our thoughts, we can tip these scales. I believe this. I know that this community changes reality in Dallas Metroplex. I know it does. From what we're doing. You are the greatest essence, power, and presence there is. It's just how we think from there, think from that consciousness, be and act. And we can tip these scales. And so let's just hold that vision that this community tips those scales. Because I need you. And you need me. And we need each other. And as more and more people practice this, talk about it, move from this place, and focus our consciousness on what we want, it truly is a world for all, and a world that we're happy, able, and proud to live in. So, collectively, this is our prayer. Oh, I got to do this.